All right, I'm going to talk about hyperspace first. Then I'm going to talk about inherency. Then there will be an overview on top of critique. And down below.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Before the K.
T before the K. I'm almost done stealing breath.
Where'd the other timer go?
It should still be up there.
I don't know.
That's what it is.
I'll figure it out. Extend our McKenna evidence. They say he's not qualified. Well, guess what? He's the world's premier ethnopharmacologist, so listen to him. And this evidence is phenomenal. It says that we are not actually physical beings. It says we are hyperspatial objects, which cast a shadow into matter. It means that the death of that matter does not really matter at all to our actual existence, meaning there's no impact to death except for the fact that I like debating, so I'm going to keep doing it for just a little bit longer. They say extend their argument that the process of living is what matters. That means that the critique, if they make it a shallow and negative form of living, that's bad. They've conceded the Schlag 96 impact, which says that they create a false aesthetic of social life, which causes to follow judges who are not intellectually stimulating. This means that we don't even have to win death good to access our McKenna evidence. He also says that we need to have a complex understanding and be able to relate our personal reality to other people. They preclude that by creating the shallow understanding. This is flagged in the 1 and R as a reason why they don't access McKenna. It means that this is literally a disad to the plan. They prevent hyperspatial ascension. We're going to be destroyed in 2012. They make it impossible for us to continue existing after 2012. All the evidence why we would die before that are reasons why we solve that. All right, inherency. The Military Commissions Act nullifies any risk of the affirmative. The MCA stripped all court jurisdiction, all habeas rights from anyone called an enemy combatant. They don't have an impact way against RK. Once the MCA literally solved everything of the act, first they only have one piece of evidence, which they have already conceded it sucks. It postdates. It's from before the MCA was passed, and it doesn't say courts would overrule it. It just might go to the Supreme Court, and the only statistical support is from Wisconsin senators. And we have multiple pieces of evidence that are far more recent and qualified. Extend our evidence saying it both expanded the definition of enemy combatant and stripped habeas rights. This is our good one evidence. He's the director from the Center of Legal Rights. Extend those from the 1 and R. They do not have an answer to this. That means that we only need to win a minimal risk.
Extend Supreme Court won't overrule.
Oh, extend the Supreme Court won't overrule. That's our totally evidence. It says that there's no possibility of a challenge coming before this because he's qualified, he's an attorney, and he knows more about the law than their staff writer. Now, topicality. They say that the key definition contradicts. Cross-apply their contradiction, good argument above, and they've already conceded the distinction between their form of contradiction and the topicality contradiction. I mean, they've conceded it doesn't justify the permutation. They can't garner offense here. The overview. The missing subject undermines the plan. They've conceded that their approach makes no sense with no one at the levers of power, so view their answer with the same skepticism as a modern defender of phrenology. They rearrange non-existent faculties so they don't even weigh impacts. Nothing happens, so you can vote on presumption. The one is Wender evidence frames the thought as an examination of truth claims. Don't accept a forced choice between the plan and inaction. Knowing who you speak to is a precondition to politics. Endorse our active criticism that debunks the 1AC and opens up better approaches. Even if you compare impacts will outweigh. The 1AC Schlag 96 evidence says that a legal person compels us into the image of bureaucratic subjects, lying cold, calculating treatment of individuals, which is the ongoing balance of law. It's why Nazi guards go home to their families after a long day at the death camps. Balance says this logic makes mass killing inevitable. The impacts what kind of people we become through debate prefer, because if debate's a training ground for bureaucrats, any value of the activity is lost. They are not responding to this level of the argument. Now, their answers to my overview. These are not responsive to the central argument I'm going for, which is that the individual humanist subject doesn't exist. They call on it, meaning they do nothing. It doesn't matter if the cases could do something because they don't interact with legal cases. They call on subjects who do not listen. Extend our Schlag 03 evidence on the framework question. We're going to win that they make debaters irrelevant because when you confine arguments to a box where it's impossible to consider the constraints that exist upon thought, then you effectively block yourself out from politics because you're unwilling to consider what makes you relevant. The critique is a precondition to even making their study of law relevant. They can't access their case claims, and this means that their framework should be rejected. It's effectively solipsism. It's saying that we should reject the critique because it doesn't agree with the understanding which the critique critiques. Doesn't make sense. All right. They say that This is on the floor proper. They say the overturn solves the score. They can escape it. We're not trying to escape. Rather, it's a question of orientation. That's our winter evidence explained above. They say that in this unique area, it's okay. This is how law leads to everyone being controlled. You can say some deserve it. Then you can assume we're all free, but we're not. This is the Schlag 91 evidence of Carlson. The permutation is real bad. They can see the Schlag 96 evidence, which says that the permutation does nothing if we prove that their study of law is inconsistent. The permutation is a masking device. This means that they solve none of the critique. It's a disadd of the permutation, and there's no analysis here. Don't let the 2AR explode on it. Now, they extend the Gentleson evidence. Look, they've conceded the Spivak evidence. They will only speak to people who already agree with them because they're unwilling to consider the assumptions that go into persuasion, and they've conceded that the Gentleson evidence says that even academics aren't reading more than just foreign affairs. There's no relevance to debate. They say that it creates relevance to academia. Well, guess what? Academics are irrelevant to. That is who Schlag is specifically critiquing. Maybe we'll become really sweet academics, but we'll still have meaningless lives if we does that because no one is listening. They say they solve extinction and example international relations. This is the Perez evidence, but they've conceded that their impacts would happen before that. We engage better. This is the winter evidence. It says prescriptions skip the level at which most persuasion occurs, which is the underlying assumptions we have about what politics should be. They're not going to convince anyone, which means they don't access Perez. They teach us to argue in a form that no one listens to. Now they extend the Butt evidence. They say that we're vague and not relevant, and that no new policy means the debate won't matter. Yeah, the funny story. Some senators from Washington came to talk to me the other month, and because I've been running normativity the last 2 years, I just didn't have shit to say when they asked me what I thought they should pass in Congress. Look, there's no way that they're going to be talking to policymakers regardless, and the relevance of debate should be about whether speaking actually matters. If they don't win that, then there's no point of this. They read a card at the bottom. This is about researching war, plus there's no warrants in it now. They say that you can operate in a moment of coherence and you don't engage the war on terror, but no one's listening. They don't engage the war on terror because there is no sovereign individual subject. They say they're returning contradictions, it has actions. This means there's no impacts on topicality, and there's literally no impact. This law can be contradictory. Okay, they still don't speak to it. They say talking misunderstanding. They use eugenics as an example. This is an example of where underlying beliefs can be important because there were lots of good policy arguments in favor of eugenics. Many people chose to reject those anyway. They say freedom is defense, but that's empty. They've conceded that Carlson speaks to a social field that doesn't exist. When you just become free in terms of a bureaucratic society, you are just not noticing the ways that you are controlled. It magnifies our impacts. They say they don't solve laws. It's inevitable. We don't have to solve laws. It's a question of orientation. They say you can vote negative to not have bureaucratic control, but you can't pick and choose who the bureaucratic control applies to. It applies to you even more thoroughly when you can say you can make these distinctions. They extend the Reinhardt evidence saying we don't collapse these distinctions. They have no link to this. We access the Bauman evidence. They say Noorani gives fighting terrorism gives value to life. Well, they're not fighting terrorism by talking about it in a debate round. They have not answered this argument that there is this disjunction between what they say and what they wish they were doing. No impact to the app, only risk of negative. Or